started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our LSU student panel. I am Garnisha Beck, the on-campus interview coordinator here in the LSU Olin Career Center, and I'll be your moderator for today. And before we get started, I just want to remind you of a few housekeeping tips. Please make sure that you keep your microphones on mute and your videos off. That way you'll only see kind of the faces of the panelists. If you, it'll probably make it easier if you do speaker view, which is right in your right corner. That way you'll see the person that's speaking at that time. And even though you have your microphones off and your videos off, we do encourage questions from each of the employers. So if you have a question, just put it in the chat. Make sure in the chat that when you send your question, you send it to everyone so that we all can see it and benefit from it. And I think that's about it right now. Oh, this session is being recorded, so you'll be able to access it later at a later date. So in this session, you'll have the opportunity to hear directly from our students about how to recruit them. In this session, our students are the experts. So we've assembled an awesome group of students here to represent our student body. So without further ado, I will let them introduce themselves. So the first person to introduce themselves will be Ava.
Hey everyone, I'm Ava Landry. I'm currently going into my 5th year in mechanical engineering, and I'm minoring in fine arts. And my past internship and co-op experience is this last spring. I was participating in a co-op at Universal Creative in Orlando. And then I've also been an intern at Salas O'Brien in Baton Rouge.
Welcome, Ava. Next up is Melissa Kim.
Hi everyone, my name is Melissa. I'm a junior mass communication student from Abbeville, Louisiana. My studies are concentrated in public relations and my minor is in business administration. I currently hold leadership positions in LSU Ambassadors and LSU Student Government. I'm also involved with the Vietnamese Student Association, Go Green, and the Honors College. And I previously served an internship with Teach for America. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Next, Stone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stone Cox. I'm obsessed with Melissa Kim. I also get to serve as LSU Student Buddy President for this year and as the student representative for the LSU Board of Supervisors. And I am a rising junior majoring in mechanical engineering.
Thank you. All right, next is Exquisite.
Good afternoon. Well, it's afternoon for me. My name is Exquisite Williams. I am a junior in communication studies major with a minor in social work. I'm in the Honors College and I am on the chair for the Black Honors Initiative. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. And finally, Christopher.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Stockdale. I am currently a second-year master's student in the Higher Education Administration program. Right now, I serve as a graduate assistant in the Olin Career Center, and an organization I am a part of, I am currently serving as the president of the Higher Education Administration Association.
All right, again, welcome all of you, and thank you so much for agreeing to share your insight. Okay, when the employers registered for this session, they actually provided questions. So we're going to kick it off with some of their questions. So when you start your job search journey, how do you hear about employers or open positions? Where do you look? Exquisite?
So I look, well, mainly through LSU, I look through Handshake, but I also utilize Google a lot. And mainly I just kind of search and I'll type in like internship near me, and then I'll maybe put my major. And I also utilize Facebook and sometimes Twitter because you never know what you can find. But mainly the first place I go to look is Handshake because that's what LSU gives us.
Okay, Melissa?
Definitely ditto exquisite on the handshake use. I would also regard myself as a professional Google user, right? So I'll initially spend time on any company's main website. However, the next top links on a related Google search are where I follow suit. So definitely leveraging search engine optimization is a must for students like me, I would say.
Okay. All right, Ava. So Melissa and Exquisite mentioned that they do a Google search. What do you look for? What attracts you to an employer?
For me, it's mostly like if I feel like I really like what their company does or what they stand for, and if the role seems really exciting. Also, things like pay, location, things like that.
Okay. Chris. So same question.
Yeah, I would say something that really just stands out to me is definitely location as well. I love a beautiful location and atmosphere. Just depending on what I'm going into, I love to look at LinkedIn as well because LinkedIn has a lot of helpful different resources to look into, especially looking at like different alumni that graduated from LSU or my undergrad to see if they are currently at that current company and just reaching out and networking and connecting with them to get their experience.
Chris, you brought up a good point about reaching out to alumni. How important is it to include the alumni in the recruiting process?
I think it's very important just because alumni, they've been there. They already have that experience. They already have that knowledge of, searching for different jobs. So reaching out to them is definitely a big thing that I would like to do just so it can definitely ease the stress of, job hunting and just looking for those different opportunities.
Okay. And Stone, when you actually go and research a little bit more about a company, what are some of the sites that you go to? What are the things you look for?
So a lot of the research that I'll do on a company is like I'll go kind of like filter companies through Handshake, and then I'll either apply on the Handshake or it'll take me to their main website, and I'll kind of look at their main website and the kind of job descriptions, and then I'll ask around some of my friends that are a little bit older in mechanical engineering and see if they know anything about this job or this company.
Hey. Okay. Did you guys hear that? Or was that me? Okay. Stone, I think turn your volume off and then turn it back on.
This sounds good.
Yes, you're muffled. All right. Okay, while he's working on that, we'll move to another question. So in this COVID era, I know you guys got a crash course on doing everything virtually from classes, and now the actual recruiting process is virtually. Many companies come to the Career Center and they want to hold virtual events, whereas before, they were in-person events, but they may want to do virtual info sessions or something like that. What types of events do you think employers should have virtually that'll attract you as a student? Ava.
I really like if they have something similar to this, like a panel with people in their company or like recruiters or things like that. In my internship I did this spring, we actually ended up ending the internship over like a virtual kind of a setup, and a lot of the intern events got switched to virtual, and the ones that I always found most helpful were ones where we could just Zoom back and forth with either industry professionals or recruiters at the company, because it felt, even though we were socially distant, pretty still personal.
And Ava, do you mind sharing a little bit more about your virtual internship so employers can kind of understand how you felt about that experience?
Yeah, sure. Like I said, I worked at Universal Creative in Orlando. For anyone who doesn't know, that's kind of the engineering and creative division behind Universal theme parks. So the beginning of my internship was really like hands-on, and we work with a lot of artists. So a lot of their work was hands-on. So it was really weird switching to virtual. but a lot of what we ended up having to do would be to just do one-on-one Zoom calls or Zoom meetings with the team. And we set up a lot of like weekly Zoom meetings and had a lot more meetings than normal just so we could make sure we were staying in contact with everyone. But for the most part, the actual work didn't really change. It was more of just the
Earlier, when Ava began speaking, you were shaking your head. What types of activities, what types of virtual events would you like for employers to do?
Right. So I guess I should say, excuse me, I'm most attracted to companies with friendly representatives, right? So everyone has kind of turned on their semi-professional corporate email speech patterns, if you will, the moment they log on to a virtual meeting. But I greatly appreciate it when there's still some sense of personalities that shine with professionalism. And so I'm less likely to attend a virtual event if it includes information I can watch elsewhere, like on YouTube or on a company's main website. Um, I think virtual events are most intriguing when there's a promise of me gaining something unique, much like Ava said, much like all the viewers gaining personal accounts to their questions here today. So yeah, definitely panels or interactive events where you really just engage your attendees and offer them something personal to take home that day.
And Stone, since you're back, can you elaborate?
All right.
All right, great. I think we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on when you're in these virtual events with employers? Like, would you prefer the camera on, camera off? Would you prefer it just to be audio or a web chat? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I want to echo everything that Mel said. Virtual events are phenomenal when you're getting that kind of extra information and something that you couldn't just get from an informational video on a main website. For me, I feel like it depends on the size of the event. So if it's, you know, a smaller event, you know, cameras on, audio on, really interactive, really, you know, give and take, you know, that's what would be the most intriguing. But if it's a larger event and, you know, it's kind of more just question based, you know, I'm fine with having my video off, you know, just kind of like, you know, sitting back watching, you know, maybe asking a question or two, but not like really in the thick of things.
Okay. And same question, Christopher.
Yeah, I think they really hit it all. You know, something unique that I can walk away with. Because I don't want to attend a virtual event that I can easily look up on a company's website and find. I just really want to have like that personal experience, even though like we're not personally in person meeting. So something that I can really like talk to the employer and feel like I'm there. So really getting that one-on-one personal time with them and just really talking to them and getting different experiences from them.
Okay. And Melissa, we have a question in the chat, a follow-up to your answer. Melissa, can you give a specific example of something unique that you gained from a virtual event?
Right. This is a great question. I love attending events that, well, I guess I should say event activities don't matter to me as much as event personnel do. I'll thoroughly enjoy even the simplest, most bare bones information session if the speakers there are engaging and show their personality. But to really better answer your question, I guess like getting really engaging speakers. One time I went to this virtual event where the speakers had a simulation experience for their attendees. And so it was kind of like, if you were an employee for us, you would go through XYZ scenarios. Let's go through a few of them right now. And so that was really interesting because it allowed me to get into the headspace of what it would be like to work for them and how they would react and in turn treat their employees. I hope that answers your question.
And you guys, I want to bring in Courtney Campert. She's one of the graduate assistants in our office, and she messaged me, and she would like to share some of her insight. Courtney.
almost forgot to unmute. Hi all, I'm a student as well here. I am a current master's student in speech pathology, but I wanted to chime in since I'm here anyways. I know personally from experience, it's nice. I just like reiterating what some of y'all have already said is that making sure that things are still more on a personal basis. And I personally have not attended any virtual events yet from employers, but now in this virtual era, especially with COVID, all of the main streamlined emails and things that I have been getting are okay, but it is nice to have that personal interaction with somebody and have them actually reaching out to you personally instead of just feeling like a number.
All right, thank you. Okay, so when you've actually been through the interview process and you have offers on the table, and say you have 2 or 3 different offers, what makes that, what is your deciding factor? What makes you want to start your career with that company? Exquisite, go ahead.
Hi, okay. Some of the things that I really look at is, a main thing is the fact that I am a Black woman. So I look at like kind of the nature of the company, and it's probably something I would have asked in interviews if I, when I was in interview for, say if it was 3 and I would have asked them, but I probably would have asked like, what is your policies on like the way I'm allowed to wear my hair? How do you deal with retaliation in the company? If someone is like, I wouldn't say attacking, but I would say attacking like me for being a Black woman in a sense. So if one company has shown that it really does care about intersectionality and it cares about its employees who are not just white or male, then that company is going to edge out the other one. And yeah. So that's the main, like, first thing I will look for.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would definitely say I would look at the values that I hold and what I look for in that company. Just trying to get a feel of what each company that offered me has in store for me. Also looking at, again, like the atmosphere, and also looking back at the interview, like how did the interview go? How did they respond to the questions that I answered? And just filling each other out virtually during that interview. So I'm real big on the like vibe that I'm getting with the different interview. So the interview goes great, and like that company is at the top of my list, and they hold those different values that I have or that I want to see in the company. Then that's really how I would go about it.
Okay, great. And Ava.
I think for me, it kind of depends on like what part I'm at in my, I guess, career journey. So when I was first looking at internships, as an engineering student, experience is really, really important for us. Like almost to the point where if you don't have any after school, there's a real worry that you won't get hired. So for me, at first, I wasn't really looking as much at those things. I was just taking whatever opportunities I could find and hoping that the things that I value and what I like to do would kind of line up with the company. But now that I kind of have experience and am getting more opportunities, I definitely agree with what Chris and Exquisite said, especially as like a girl in engineering and a person who, cares about a lot of the things I believe in. I always look at, if I feel like I'll be comfortable there. But also another thing that's recently become a lot more pressing for me is kind of money. As a student, I realize like I'll have to pay for the rest of school. So for if an internship or an opportunity is somewhere in a cool city, I still do have to consider like how am I going to pay to live? How am I going to pay to finish school? Like all these other things. So that's also a factor a lot of the times.
Okay, and Stone, can you jump in and kind of address, so brought up the, Ava mentioned about, the cost factor. So along with your salary comes benefits. What are the 3 top benefits that you're looking for with the new employer?
So I'm very much what Ava was. I'm a younger mechanical engineering student, haven't really, had that internship experience. So I'm looking for kind of anything that's anything that's been thrown, like, can be thrown to me. But things that, like, I would look for if I had a lot of options in front of me would be, you know, one, what am I going to get paid when I'm doing the internship and job? What is, you know, my career growth and kind of connections? What does that look like? You know, can I go get a master's in business administration with this company? Is that a possibility? You know, is there room to, you know, go into management a couple of years? How does that look? And then I would also look at, you know, city and atmosphere, and, you know, and kind of that a little bit as well as, you know, those would probably be actually the top three.
Okay. Same thing, Courtney Camper.
I would say what really aligns for me is, are you looking for benefits is what you're
Yes.
asking about? Okay. For me, coming from a more medical professional area, we have specific areas of continued education that is included. Some companies will offer compensation for even like our praxis exam, which is for SLPs, like our board exam. Any kind of, we have CEUs that we have to do every year online to continue our education, and having those included. Any company that really kind of goes above and beyond of what the average normal is, or if they are meeting what most companies are doing, giving the extra time to explain those benefits to us and give us more of an better understanding of how that company is and what they level up in comparison to other companies.
Okay. Anyone else want to answer that one? Okay, Exquisite.
I think I'm really looking for, I think Stone said, I'm really looking for like upward mobility. So if I start off here, I want to kind of know, will I be able to stay here? Or is it even worth kind of like, if I can only be here for about 2 years, then I would go with a company that would allow me to be there for like the next 10, because that gives me a chance to grow in the company. I'm also looking for, if I have to relocate and move, are they willing to help in that process? So if I have a different city and they're relocating me, will they already have like apartments or anything that's like there, and it's like, hey, we help you out with that, like anything that supplements that process. And then I'm looking for not necessarily a negotiable salary, but one that can be spoken about, like that's willing to have a conversation about. Yeah.
And I saw Melissa's hand go up also, so if you could answer that.
Right. So the top 3 benefits I would look for in a job offer are professional development perks, like enrichment courses or additional mentorships, externships to the job at hand. I think that's very important for students to really gain the most out of any experience, no matter how long of a job promise it'll be. Definitely echoing Exquisite on any housing perks, but also commuter perks. And so I've seen companies partner with Uber or Lyft or a similar rideshare app where they'll provide discounts if that's ever like a problem for any of their employees commuting within the same city, right? And finally, flexibility. I think sick or personal emergency days are inevitable. And so I would want to know that I'm heard, safe, and secure in my job from my employer should those days pop up.
Great. And you brought up a good concern about, in this era of COVID, do you have safety concerns in going to a new employer or moving to a new area? Who wants to answer? I see every head going, yes, yes, yes. Go ahead, Stone.
So I'm actually going to be probably one of the, I have some safety concerns, but I'm probably on the more, like, I'm not as concerned, just because I've looked at, you know, data pertaining to myself personally, and, you know, those that I'm close with and like living with, and it's not really affecting me too heavily in terms of a mortality percentage. But that is something, you know, is how did companies respond when COVID hit? You know, I would kind of want to know that. But in terms of, you know, just personal fear of the virus, that's not too great for me.
Okay. Who wants to go next? Anyone? Okay, Exquisite.
I'll answer. I was also kind of looking at the question in the chat, but in regards to COVID, I think my question comes with like in the case of another pandemic, or in case we don't get out of this one while we're still looking for jobs, is if I have to quarantine myself, is it a case of my job being at risk? Is it a case of they'll pay in terms of 6 days, or will me having to be out of work for 14 days either cost me my job or cost me future personal days when I had to go to work in that sense? Yeah, but there was also a question chat that I was looking at.
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
the question is, when speaking about salary versus benefits, would good benefits, i.e. medical, vision, 401k, vacation, outweigh a mediocre salary?
For me, yes. And I say this because like 4 on my list, and we only did the top 3, but 4 on my list would be like good benefits in regards to medical and vision, and going to 401k and vacation. I would be willing to say one company offered me a higher salary, but they didn't have as good of a benefits. And the other company's salary wasn't as good, but had better benefits. In the long run, the benefits are what I'm looking for, because that company is giving me a high salary, but I have to come out of pocket if I need to go get my glasses fixed and if I need to go like to the dentist. So I much have like a very good, like I want benefits over pay, if that makes like I still want to be paid, but the benefits, like I can have that.
Anyone else want to chime in either on the COVID question or benefits versus salary? All right, Ava.
I can chime in on the COVID question. I agree a lot with what Exquisite said. I want to know that wherever I'm working, if a pandemic or even a smaller issue happens, that my job's secure, and that the company will find ways for me to feel safe while I'm there. Just over this summer, I found different like part-time jobs and things that I walked in and didn't feel safe. So for me too, it's like a agreement of not only the company but the people who work there and how it feels when you're there, and also knowing that they're making active decisions that will help me feel like if the second something happens, I won't be looking for work again.
Anyone else? Christopher?
So I would also say with the COVID question, I will also ask about, how flexible are your work hours? Am I required to go into the office, or am I required to go in the office like 2 days out of the week and then the rest I can do online? So I think that would be a very, very like one of my deciding factors when it comes to one of the companies that I choose to work for. Just how flexible those work hours are, and if I can do some of this work online or in person.
Okay, does anyone have any thing to add to the question about salary versus benefits? Courtney.
Okay, personally, I'm gonna kind of echo what Exquisite said. In benefits are extremely important to me personally. I think a general sticker price of how much a salary would be, I typically try to delve in deeper than that and really see how I'm going to benefit from this company on a more personal level rather than just my salary. So those things are something, as long as I think, at least for me, if I was scrolling through salaries, I typically tend to go deeper if I'm interested in a company. And so I would say, yes, good benefits for me would outweigh a mediocre salary.
Okay. All right, we have a question in the chat, and it actually ties into a question that I have on my list. How willing are you to relocate to a new area? And are you interested in working internationally? Stone.
So I'm very flexible in terms of movement. So I'd be open to go pretty much anywhere in the country or even in the world, especially if the compensation or benefits is, large enough. For me, a lot of it would depend on where internationally it would be. You know, I can't speak multiple languages. And so like that would definitely go into effect. Like I would have to go somewhere where I could either, you know, I could live with only being able to speak English because that's just a thing for me. But again, it just depends on, you know, the circumstances, but I'm very flexible in terms of, you know, moving to different places. I don't know if I necessarily represent all students in that, but that's just me personally.
Anyone else? Melissa?
Definitely. So I think post-grad, I would be willing to and eager to move anywhere within the States and the world. I think working internationally, targeting students who are freshly graduated is the best way to go because, I mean, in your early 20s, you know, like it's prime time, it's what you're told growing up is like the time to travel and all. However, I can't say the same as an undergraduate student if that's who you're targeting. My current lifestyle and involvements, no matter the housing benefits, travel benefits, kind of tie me down within Louisiana and its neighboring states. And a lot of my friends, I could say the same. So this question is definitely dependent on the type of work and pay and whether it's worth it to put your current student commitments on hold.
Exquisite.
I forgot to unmute. I agree with Melissa in regards to undergrads, but I do know that myself, I would be willing, like depending on the benefits, I'd be willing to be swayed. I speak 2 languages, so I speak Spanish as well. So I would be willing to, like, if I had to go to South America or any other country that speaks Spanish, I'd be so willing to go. I do agree that like when you're young, that's when they tell you to travel, because it's like you haven't put down roots yet. But I think if you for an undergraduate, which I am, it would take a question of, would I be able to finish my like degree out there? Would I have to transfer? Do I have to do LSU online? But and I cannot say, I think postgraduate, like after I get my graduate degrees, then I'd be definitely willing, especially if that same, like if I still have my benefits, if I still have like, if they still cover like either the price of relocation or they help do that, they're like, we have a place for you. And like a way to kind of integrate me into wherever I have to move to. But I think there's like a large interest in going internationally or even just across the country.
Okay. I think Courtney had her hand up next. Courtney.
Yeah, I just want to echo in as well because I have done some specific informal surveying of students for the OCC on what kind of things when employers come to campus, students want to hear about. And one of the big things I heard, and for me personally, I agreed with it, was location is a big draw for a lot of students because it seems from my perspective that students are possibly more willing to travel for jobs than they have been in the past. And if a company can market that in the correct way and really kind of grab hold of students' attention using that, it can be extremely eye-catching and also something interesting for them to learn about other than just the company itself. And that includes traveling within the country, but also traveling internationally.
Okay, thanks. And Ava.
My answer is actually a little bit different. I do want to travel and I'd love to do that, but I think for me to move and upend my life and travel somewhere else and work there would be if I think it'd have to be a really good opportunity for upward mobility in the company or doing something different that I'd want to try doing. So while I do want to travel, I also don't want to travel just for the sake of it. I think it would have to be something I was excited about doing for work or offer me like some kind of new position or more benefits or higher salary or something like that, because I think that especially now with just all the like pandemic stuff, I think it's a big ask to go travel. So I think for me a little bit more would go into it than just like, do I want to travel or not?
And so in the chat, Bill, who originally asked the question, kind of amended the question and wanted you to focus on after graduation. So would you guys change any of your responses or add anything to it if you just focus on after? Okay. All right, great. Okay, so that's all of the questions that we had beforehand. So now I want to open it up to everyone attending the session. Employers, do you have any questions for our panel? If so, you can type it in the chat. And as we wait on questions to come in, I was wondering if the panel, whoa, here's another one. Oh, no, never mind. If the panel, if you have any like final things that you just would like to share with the employers. Stone.
I don't have anything too like insightful. Wait, what? Oh, I think there was a question in the chat. What is your biggest worry for the fall and all things being virtual?
Go ahead.
I know a big thing for me was the career fair that LSU puts on. That was a big thing for me that I went to last year, and so I'm a little bit concerned about how that's going to go. This semester, especially because we probably won't be able to have that event. I'm just assuming, I could be wrong, but so that's a big one for me as an engineering major.
Actually, Kyle and Courtney are on from our office. If one of you guys could chime in and just give us there you go. Jesse is saying we'll have virtual events. But if someone from the OCC could just kind of give a quick synopsis.
Yeah, I mean, I can jump in, and of course can jump in after me. Yes, we are going to offer our events virtually. I think Stone had mentioned we are going to have a STEM expo day that's dedicated to our STEM majors. We won't at this time have the receptions that we normally would. So the engineering reception and the business reception, simply because the platform that we're going to be using, the turnaround on that platform kind of inhibited us from hosting basically back-to-back events, especially within the same day. But we are going to have pretty much a full bevy of virtual events for this fall. And we're always looking internally if we can add any events throughout the semester. That's certainly something that we have on the table and that we haven't taken off yet, because we do have the platforms at our disposal to potentially allow us to look at hosting some events, as we get into the semester that we don't have on the calendar right now, should the need arise. But we're looking forward to a fall. It's certainly going to be a little different, as I think it is for all of us. But we're really excited because even though there are some challenges, there's also a lot of great opportunity that also comes with that. So just continue to check back. And I can tell you that STEM Expo Day will be September the 15th. Follow that up with a business, government, nonprofit Expo Day that will be the following week on September 22nd. Those are both Tuesdays. So,
thanks, Kyle. Okay, does any of the other panelists have an answer to what is your biggest worry for the fall and all things virtual? Ava?
For me, it's just, I think, kind of the value of our education and making sure that the virtual classes we have and whatever process we're taking to have those classes is sort of worth what we're paying for. I don't want to have an online class that's significantly diminished in its quality just because it's online. So I'm kind of really worried about that.
Okay. Courtney?
As a second year grad student, I was planning on getting my career search up and running this fall. So having that as something that's a big thing on my agenda and having that be completely virtual, as well as the career fairs being virtual, it'll be an interesting endeavor, I think. I also still have to take my large praxis exam, and that they're still doing virtual as well. So how those scores will be done and how companies will consider our praxis as being online, I'm worried about companies thinking I might not be as qualified as other students that are older than me, that have graduated earlier than me. and how I kind of par up to those students. And so just kind of the whole endeavors of getting into the job search and how that's going to look different.
Okay, we have another question. What are some suggestions you would give to incoming students on how to market themselves in a new environment, in a new virtual environment? Who wants to take that one? All right, Ava.
I think for new students, I always tell them like to figure out maybe an industry you're interested in or some kind of jobs you're interested in, and just like email the company. I did that. I want to work in themed entertainment. So at the beginning of my college career, I just went and found as many companies that I liked what they did and was interested in the work they were doing. And I just emailed them and said, hey, do you have internships or even just an opportunity to speak to you about what you do? And it actually turned into a few interviews and a pretty good conversation. So I think just knowing what you want to do and not being afraid to reach out and tell them that you're interested in it is really important.
Okay, that's a good one, Ava. And she actually was very successful in that. Okay, another question from Rebecca Day. You all discussed how you find companies, Google, Handshake, etc. How can companies best reach you to invite you to recruiting events, discussions, to meet our recruiting team? What marketing strategies should we consider? Melissa?
Right. So how I was invited to this and many other virtual events that I've attended, a representative or the host of a virtual event will personally DM me. And I'm not exactly saying that I'm, high personnel and only ever need to be personally reached out to. However, it makes it feel like you're really wanted to be there, that a company has taken out the time, done their research and to some extent, and really wanted to make sure that you gained this personal experience with them. And I think it might have been Ava earlier or another panelist who really talked more about that earlier today. So.
Anyone else want to answer that? Exquisite.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that social media is a very it's an easier way in a sense to reach out to students, but also being able to I know Instagram and Twitter allow you to promote tweets in your area. And I think companies should do a lot more of that when they're just recruiting in general, because that's how it'll get on the timeline. And I know a lot of students don't check their emails as often as they would like to think. I check it obsessively just because I like to know what's going on. But sometimes emails don't work as well now as they would have in the past. And I think, and when you do use the email, it's kind of important to me that it doesn't look like spam, because sometimes I'll get these spam emails and I'm like, they don't mean it. It's the same thing with the spam caller. And it's like, I don't want to look at this. So when you do send an email, it's very important that you make sure it seems personalized and not kind of as copy and paste as a lot of spam emails look like.
And just to echo what Melissa did say earlier, she's absolutely correct. There's a few students on this panel that I just met, and I met them by DMing them, seeing what their background was, and I sent them a DM and they responded immediately. So, hey, it worked out. And another tip is within Handshake, if their resume is there, their contact information is there. So that's how you can learn how to reach out to them. And we are encouraging students to use Handshake to message each other. So you can definitely reach out to that student through Handshake. Okay, we have a question from Leah Carter from Halliburton. How important is it for you to understand a company's stance and actions towards racial equity and justice in the workplace? Exquisite.
It's very important to me, and mainly because I am in a vulnerable intersection of people, that it's like, if this company isn't public about what they believe, how can I trust them to protect me in a sense? How do I know that I'm an important employee to them if they won't even publicize what they believe in regards to racial justice and injustices that happen specifically in America and specifically in the South? We have to acknowledge that as a Southern state, things tend to be, and I don't want to say worse, but just more difficult. And a lot of people who look like me and who are also vulnerable people deal with that, and they deal with that driving, they deal with that, like just living in general. And the workplace just, I feel like, should be a place where they shouldn't have to deal with that as much, in a sense. So it's very important that I know a company's stances in regards to that.
Okay, you guys, we have several questions. So did you want to add something, Ava? So we'll probably get a question now and get one student to answer so we can get through.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, I think it's also important to speak out about it, but to also actually do the things you're talking about. Like, I've worked at companies before who said they really cared about diversity and making sure everyone felt comfortable, but walking into their office, they had really, really insensitive and inappropriate dialogue, or like less than 25% of their workforce were people of color. And that really just shows to me that you don't actually care about what you're saying. So I think for a new employee, and I'm, you know, a person who can feel comfortable in a workplace. Like, I'm white, so I can, you know, kind of blend in, and I can't imagine what that must feel like for other people. So to see like companies not actually doing the things they say they're doing is also a really big red flag to me.
Thank you, Ava. Okay, Max Amons. While reviewing Handshake for opportunities, what items pique your interest to move you to investigate one company over another? Who wants to take that one? Stone.
So I spent a lot of time about a year ago on Handshake, and when I did it, I was the filters that I could get through. So it was a lot of like, I went through and did all the filters, and if you came up in one of the filters that I had, and if you had a quick apply option, I absolutely loved that, and it was great. So I could just, you know, go ahead and go do that. I know that helped me out as a student a lot. So even if it's a, you know, quick apply and you send me a follow-up email and I have to do more, you know, that's fine. But I love that quick apply option. That helps me out. And that really, like, as a student, you stand out more for me when you have that quick apply option, because you're making my life easier.
Okay, looks like everyone can agree. All right, next question. What type of mentorships would you be interested in selecting a company for internship or full-time? And do you have any suggestions on a virtual event you would like to see companies do? Exquisite.
I feel like I'm talking so much. Types of mentorship. I'm really interested in looking at people who like were recruited in time, like the same type of way as me, or who came like right out of college into this company, who can provide, like, even though this is what we say we do, this is what actually happens type information. Mentorship is something that's extremely important. I feel like it always should be kind of offered. If you have the resources to do it, then you should do it. And then for the other question in regards to virtual events, I just think any type of event that's kind of like, hey, meet us, learn what we're about, ask us like specific questions that you have is important. And then events that aren't too long, because staring at a computer all day, your eyes get really tired. And once it pushes like 50 minutes, it's typically time to check out.
Thanks, Exquisite. Okay, Ava.
In my last internship, the company had a program called the Pathfinder program. So every new employee, whether it was an intern or a full-time employee, would be assigned a Pathfinder in the company. So someone who wasn't their direct manager or supervisor, but who would be a contact person for that employee and could show them the workplace and show them just kind of the different fun social things they did, and like be a person they could go to as kind of a resource, which I really liked, because I felt like if I had some kind of issue or a question that wasn't, you know, like good for my manager, like I had another person. And also it was cool to have more connections in the office other than just my manager.
Thanks, Ava. Okay, this next one is from Jessica Hughes from Domino's Pizza. I am a local hiring recruiter for Domino's Pizza. Coming from the student perspective, what is something that we can do better to assist the incoming students in balancing their work-school life? Melissa, can you answer that one?
Definitely. So I feel best supported by employers whenever um, I can have a comfortable conversation with them based on my current involvements and what's going on week to week. And so I mentioned my past internship with Teach for America, right? And I was fully aware of all my weekly benefits, or sorry, weekly expectations to complete my job week per week. But I felt comfortable enough with my manager to where I had casual conversations of what was going on each week. Heavy test week. Um, I'm participating in a school-wide student government campaign, and so this is very like abnormal, and I can put in more work this week, but maybe not this upcoming week, right? And so I don't have any like concrete advice to really help assist students other than just keep the conversation open and understand that we are students first. You know, we're student workers, student leaders, always students first. And so asking the questions first yourself to prompt those conversations is really important to me.
Does anyone else have an answer for that? Okay. Y'all, we've covered a lot today. First, I want to thank the panel so much for taking time. I know that school is starting. This is an extremely busy week for you, and you carved out time to be here today with us. So I think each of the employers truly appreciate all the insight that you've given them, because you've given them a lot. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for everyone who attended. If you have additional questions, please shoot us an email. Send us an email. And I think each one of you have Courtney's email. So her email is courtney@lsu.edu. And you can shoot her an email and she'll be able to, we'll get follow-up responses for you. All right. And
Yes.
Courtney, I can kick it to you.
Yes, Garnisha, thank you so much. I would like, Garnisha is one of our Rockstar team members and does not like the attention, but I'm giving it to you because you have done an amazing job putting together these wonderful students who are such a great representation of LSU and the students that we have here. So thank you all so much for your time, for your insight, for being so open and honest with our employers. This is always a highlight of our day. This is our 16th year and our first year virtual, and I am happy to say that this went off without a hitch. So great job, everyone. I would also like to tell our employers that I'm not sure if you noticed, but in our agenda, there is a link to the student panel, and it is their bio sheet with the student email addresses on there. And I also linked it in the chat. So if you do have follow-up questions for any one of our panelists, I hope that it's okay, students, that I provided employers with your email address. I will tell you, some of our student panelists have gotten jobs from serving on our panel before. So you have certainly represented yourself in a wonderful light and represented LSU as a whole as a fantastic university to be a part of. So thank you for sharing your time this morning. Garnisha, thank you for a wonderful panel group. And we will see everybody in about 6 minutes at our next session. So thank you again to everyone.